Imagine walking down a crowded high school hallway, trying to keep your head low so no one notices you. For years, you've been invisible, until one moment changes everything. One slap echoing down the hall meant to humiliate you. But instead of breaking, you rise. What the bullies never expected was that the quiet girl they mocked every day had a strength no one could see. And in that instant, before the teacher even arrived, she showed them a lesson they'd never forget. This is her story. Emily Carter was the kind of girl most people walked past without a second glance. She always carried books pressed tightly against her chest, her gaze fixed on the floor as though it was safer not to meet anyone's eyes. Her hair often fell across her face, acting like a shield, and she sat at the very back of every class, silent, almost invisible. She wasn't always like this. There was a time years ago when Emily was cheerful, always smiling, always sketching in her notebook, but life at home had changed. Her father left, her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, and Emily learned early that blending in was easier than being noticed. Yet the bullies noticed anyway. There was always a group of boys who treated the hallway like their kingdom. Josh, the ringleader, thrived on attention. His laugh could slice through the air like broken glass, and his friends followed his lead, mocking anyone who seemed weaker than them. Emily became an easy target, too quiet to defend herself, too withdrawn to fight back. They snatched her books, called her Ghost Girl, sometimes shoved her into lockers just to see her flinch. But what nobody knew, not even her teachers, was that Emily had been training for years. After her father left, her uncle, a retired military instructor, took her under his wing. He taught her self-defense, not to fight back in anger, but to protect herself when the world became too cruel. Emily never wanted to use it. She never wanted to hurt anyone. But she carried that knowledge inside her, buried deep like a dormant fire. One rainy Wednesday afternoon, the hallway was louder than usual. Students rushed between classes, chatter filling the air. Emily walked silently, clutching her books, when Josh stepped in front of her. His friends formed a circle. "Hey, Ghost Girl," Josh sneered, blocking her path. Emily tried to sidestep him, but his arm shot out, and in one quick motion, smack! The slap echoed through the hallway. A hush fell as heads turned. Emily staggered back, her cheeks stinging red. Her books scattered across the floor. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But Emily didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. Instead, something inside her shifted. Her eyes, hidden for so long, rose and locked on Josh. Calm, unshaken, determined. And that's when the fire she kept buried finally lit. To Shiptar 20, the snap, the silence was unbearable. Dozens of students stood frozen, waiting to see if Emily would break down like always. Josh smirked, raising his hand again as if daring her to resist. But this time, Emily moved faster than anyone could process. When Josh swung, Emily sidestepped, her grip catching his wrist midair. In one fluid motion, she twisted, pivoted, and pressed against his elbow joint. The snap was sharp, sickening, and unmistakable. Josh let out a howl of pain, collapsing to his knees as his friends scrambled backward, faces pale. The hallway exploded with gasps. Some kids covered their mouths, others whispered, "Did you see that?" Emily stood over him, her breathing steady, her hands still locked in perfect form. She hadn't lashed out blindly. She hadn't attacked. She had defended herself with precision, exactly as her uncle taught her. Josh's arrogance drained away in seconds, replaced with fear. Before anyone could react, a teacher rounded the corner, eyes widening at the sight. "What on earth?" she gasped, rushing forward. Josh clutched his arm, whimpering. His friends stammered excuses. Emily didn't argue. She didn't try to justify herself. She simply picked up her books from the floor, dusted them off, and stood tall for the first time in years. The aftermath was chaotic. Josh was taken to the nurse. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Emily had superhuman strength. Others whispered she was dangerous. But a few, those who watched closely, saw something different. They saw courage. In the days that followed, everything changed. Students who once ignored her now looked at her with respect. Teachers who thought she was just a quiet background figure began to see her potential. And Josh, his swagger was gone. He avoided Emily's eyes whenever she passed. The balance of power had shifted. But the real change wasn't in them. It was in Emily. She realized that silence wasn't weakness. She realized that her strength didn't make her cruel. It made her free. For the first time, she walked down the hallway with her head held high, not hiding behind her hair, not shrinking into the shadows. She was no longer invisible. And though the world had tried to break her with one slap, she had shown everyone, including herself, that sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest strength. This story isn't just about a hallway or a bully. It's about standing tall when the world underestimates you. It's about finding your strength when no one believes in you. And it's a reminder that even the quietest person in the room may carry a power you could never imagine.